principles. Just try to think. To answer those questions which we discussed just about the paragraph, we have to address the issues of limit, competence, and consequence of the impositions. We also have to engage with other issues that John Story Mill stated so obliquely in his essay on liberty. In the discussion, in political theory, it is called harm principle. Let us quote this statement and try to explain it. What? In his essay on liberty, मिस्टर जॉन स्टुअर्ट ने क्या कहा था जो हार्म प्रिंसिपल को डिफाइन करेगा? द सोल एंड फॉर विच मैनकाइंड आर वारंटेड individually or collectively in inferring with the liberty of action of any of their number is self-protection. तो सेल्फ प्रोटेक्शन क्या है कि mankind at individual level or collectively level, they have all the choices to do their actions to all their numbers. So that is only purpose of which power can be rightfully exercised over any member of civilized community against this will is to prevent harm to others. So harm principle. Harm principle is a concept introduced by philosopher John Stuart Mill in his work on liberty. और वो कब पब्लिश की गई थी 1859 में. उसमें वो कहते हैं कि legitimate reason for inferring with the individual liberty or autonomy is to prevent harm to others. कि दूसरों को नुकसान से बचाने के लिए हमें जो ज़रूरत और legitimate reasons हैं उसको रोका जा सकता है. In other words, individuals should be free to act and make choices as they see it, as long as their action do not cause harm to others. Mill's harm principles. Harm principle किसका है? Mill's का है. Mill का है. Is a cornerstone of liberal political philosophy and had a significant influence on discussion on individual rights and the limits of government authority. What are the key points of harm principle? Individual autonomy. Mill emphasized the importance of individual autonomy and self-determination. Individuals have the right to make their own choices and lead their lives according to their own values and desirable. Non-interference. The harm principle argues the society or government should not interfere with the individual actions, beliefs, and choices unless those actions directly harms others. This reflects the commitment to limit the scope of government power and promoting individual freedom. Preventing harm. The primary justification of limitation individual freedom is to prevent harm to others. There should not be harm because of your action. Harm can impose physical harm, psychological harm, or significant negative effect on the social well-being of others. Subjective versus objective harms. The harm principle recognizes that harm can be subjective and individuals have different tolerance for risk. It does not necessarily require an unanimous concession or what constraint harm, but aim to prevent clear and demonstrate harm. Self-regarding and other regarding actions. Mill distinguishes between self-regarding actions, those that only affect the individual making of choices, and other regarding actions, those of impact others. The harm principle primarily apply to other individual actions. Think limitation to individual freedom. Mill advocates for broad individual freedom. He acknowledges that there are situations where society may need to intervene, even if harm is not directly caused. That might include cause of preventing individual from harming themselves or protecting those from who are unable to protect themselves, such as children. Public opinion and discourse. Many believe that allowing a diversity of opinions and a free expression for crucially preventing tyranny of the majority. Public opinion and open discourse can help society distinguish between genuine harm and more discomfort. Exceptions and complex. The application of harm principle can become more complex in cases where harm is direct, potential, and difficult to quantify. Mill's framework encourages careful consideration and balanced approach. It is important to note that debates on interpretation of the harm principle continues. To this day, particularly regarding this scope, application of different contexts and potential conflicts with or without principle and values, nonetheless, the harm principle remains a significant contribution to discuss the individual liberty and role of government and the boundaries of permissible interference in personal choices. So coming back to NCRT, Mill introduce here an important distinction. He distinguishes between self-regarding actions, that is, those actions which have consequences only for individual actor and nobody else, and others regarding actions, that is, actions that have consequences for others. So there are two types of actions. For example, if I do the actions to study this political theory, then that will be beneficial for me. And if I decided to rob the bank, then that have consequences for others. That's a wrong act. So there are two type of actions according to Mr. Mill. First and second, he argued that respect to actions and choices that affect only oneself, self regarding actions, the state authority has no business to intervene. तो वो एक्शन जिनके बारे में जो सेल्फ रिगार्डिंग एक्शन है, जिनका कंसिक्वेंस केवल आप हैं, आप पढ़ेंगे या नहीं पढ़ेंगे, आप कोई कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्जाम देना चाहते हैं या नहीं देना चाहते हैं, so state has no business to interfere. Or put in a simple language, it should be that's my business. I will do what I like. Or how does it concern you if it does not affect you? It constrains with respect to actions that have consequences for others' actions. और ऐसे एक्शंस के लिए जिनका दूसरों पर प्रभाव पड़ता है, which may cause harm to others, जो दूसरों को हार्म भी कर सकते हैं, उसमें एक्सटर्नल इंटरफेरेंस की आवश्यकता भी है. After all, if your action causes me harm, then surely I must be saved from such harms by external authority. कि आप या मैं कोई ऐसा काम करते हैं जिससे मुझे नुकसान है, तो निश्चित ही आपको किसी बाहरी व्यक्ति से मदद की ज़रूरत है जो उस हार्म से आपको बचाए. In this case, it is the state which can constrain a person from acting in way that causes harm to something else. कोई और नहीं, आपकी स्टेट आपको बचाएगी. State in not a sense that your state Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh, Jammu Kashmir, Andhra Pradesh, Jammu Kashmir, both are different part of India. Remember, however, freedom is that core of human society is so crucial for dignified human life. मानव सभ्यता में रह करके हमें सम्मानपूर्ण जीवन जीना बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण है. It should be only be constrained in a special circumstances. और जो भी हमारे ऊपर बंदिशें लाई जाती है वो समान रूप से नहीं होंगे, लेकिन कुछ ऐसे केसेस में जहाँ पर या तो हम किसी दूसरे को हार्म पहुँचा रहे होंगे, तो उस केस में स्टेट के द्वारा उस बंदिशों की जरूरत है. द हार्म काज मस्ट बी सीरियस, तभी कंस्ट्रेंट्स आएगा. फॉर माइनर हार्म्स मिल रिकमेंडेड ओनली सोशल डिसप्रूवल एंड नॉट द फोर्स ऑफ लॉ. फॉर दैट टाइप ऑफ वर्क विच आर नॉट सीरियस, विच डज नॉट which are, you can see, in a very brief, minor harms, Mill does not recommend the force of law. Only society should not accept that. That is fair, that is okay. For example, the playing of loud music in apartment buildings should bring only social disapproval from other residents of the building. This should not involve the police. Right now, it is a need, and the time these things have been written, that will be ideal about that contemporary society. But right now there is a strong need that there should not be allowed music in the apartment. For example, I am in a building in which 70 to 80 people, 70 to 80 students are living and studying, and if I suppose and bought a DJ or rent a DJ, and in a first floor I just make the building to just हिलने लगे पूरी बिल्डिंग, इतना तेज डीजे बजाता हूँ, तो क्या दैट्स फेयर? सो हेयर नॉट ओनली सोशल डिसप्रूवल but laws also required. I think personally this would be indicates their disapproval of the inconvenience that playing loud music has caused them by perhaps refusing to greet the person who plays the music regarding to harm it is caused other. हो सकता है कि जिसकी उसका मत मैं ना चाहता हूँ कि लोगों का नुकसान हो, लेकिन फिर भी किसी का नुकसान हो रहा हो, ऐसी चीज़ें. The harm that playing loud music causes is that of preventing those in other apartment from talking, sleeping, or listening to their own music. This is minor harm and should only be provoked to social disapproval. It does not fit a case or a legal punishment, constrains action by the force of law. should only happen when the other regarding actions cause serious harm to definite individual. What do you think? You can tell to us. We are hoping your views, and I will be happy, and my heart will just curious to know all the answers of the people. Otherwise, society must bear the inconvenience in the spirit of protecting freedom. Let's think. It is something to ड्रेस कोड के बारे में यहाँ पर सोचने के लिए दिया गया है एंड pause and you can think read in the NCERT. People should be ready to tolerate difficult ways of life, different points of view, and different interests, so long as they do not cause harm to others. But such tolerance needs to extend to views and actions which may put people in danger or foment hatred. तो हमें ऐसे कोई कार्य करना चाहिए जिनसे लोगों के बीच में लड़ाई झगड़ा हो, नफरत बढ़े. Against them, against campaign hate campaigns cause serious harm to the freedom of the others, and actions can cause serious harms or actions of which constraints can be imposed. तो कुछ ऐसे हेट कैंपेन्स होते हैं जो किसी दूसरे कम्युनिटी के खिलाफ नफरत फैलाते हैं जिससे उनको नुकसान होता है. सो वी मस्ट मेक श्योर दैट द कंस्ट्रेंट इम्पोज्ड आर नॉट सीवियर सो दैट दे डिस्ट्रॉय फ्रीडम इटसेल्फ. लेकिन जो भी बंदिशें लगाई जा रही है वो ऐसी ना हो कि केवल फ्रीडम को ही वो भाई बंदिशें लगाई ही जा रही हैं ताकि हम फ्रीडम को इंश्योर कर सकें, और ऐसी बंदिशें नहीं होनी चाहिए जो आपकी फ्रीडम को ही इन नेगेटिवली वे इतना नेगेटिव हो जाए बंदिशें कि फ्रीडम ही चली जाए. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, वी मस्ट नॉट आस्क फॉर लाइफ इम्प्रिजमेंट फॉर दोज who only conduct hate campaigns. Maybe some restrictions on their movement or other containments on the light of the whole public meetings can be considered, especially if they continue to carry out such campaigns in the spite of warnings by the state to disrupt government. कि यानी कि अगर किसी ने छोटा जुर्म किया तो उसको ऐसा नहीं कि आप केवल जान से मार दो या उसको जीवन भर के लिए उसकी फ्रीडम छीन लो, उसको जेल में डाल दो. तो ऐसे दिया गया. इन द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल डिस्कशन इन इंडिया द टर्म्स यूज्ड फॉर सच justifiable constraint is reasonable restrictions. So we will use reasonable restrictions because in Indian constitution this term is used. So reasonable constitution may be there, but they must be reasonable, capable of being defended by reasons, not excessive, not out of proportion to the action being restrictions. Since then it would be impacted on the general conditions of freedom of society. We must not develop the habit of imposing restrictions, since such a habit is determined to freedom. तो ऐसा नहीं कि हम आदतों की तरह किसी को ऊपर मन से लाना चालू करते हैं और एक दूसरे को अनावश्यक परेशान करना चाहते हैं.